Welcome into In the Trenches for Week 5. I'm Tanner Kern, joined alongside former CFL defensive lineman Maxx Forde. We're breaking down the best DFS matchups on the defensive side of the ball, and we're also talking some offensive line play as well. Max, how you doing?
Doing great. Week 5. Every year it happens, but we're just moving along so fast. But just enjoying being back in football season, man.
Definitely. It's crazy to think we're already a quarter of the way through the year, basically, like the regular season. I know we have playoffs, but it's sad. It goes so quick.
Yeah, every year we get into this, like, you get so excited. You're building up to it. August comes around. You feel like it's never going to come, and then you're into it, and it's gone, and just like that. So it's scary how fast it slips away.
Definitely. And we do have football for 55 straight days now, which is awesome. Like college, NFL, it's on nonstop. So definitely take advantage of that from betting, DFS, and all that good stuff. So basically every week, guys, if you're new to the show, we give you our biggest mismatch of the week. And then we break down 3 budget plays for DFS defense. So that's basically anything under $3,000. So Max, looking at your biggest mismatch this week, you have the Chicago Bears defense going against the Carolina Panthers offense. A little interesting here, considering Carolina's got a lot better on offense. They've protected Andy Dalton very well. He's been able to sling it around the field. Like I think last week they almost should have beaten the Cincinnati Bengals if they made a few more plays because of how good they've been on offense. So do you think that Chicago gets to Andy Dalton in this football game?
I think they do. They've built around that front. I know last year we were talking about it when they went out and got Montez Sweat and thought maybe it didn't make a ton of sense for where they were at as a franchise, but he's been a game changer for them up there. They've got a guy like DeMarcus Walker on the other side. They've got some guys that can get to the quarterback, and this defense has played really well, even without a lot of that complementary football that you normally like to see out of your offenses. So I think that if the offense can get going against Carolina's defense, this is a big smash spot. And even if they can't, this is a defense that has shown that they can carry the mantle for their team. And while Carolina's been doing a lot better with Andy Dalton at the helm, they haven't really played somebody like this Chicago defense. So,
yeah, it should be an interesting matchup there. My one hesitation with this is like Andy Dalton was an average quarterback when quarterback play was really hard, like when quarterbacks weren't great. So like looking at that, he knows how to manipulate a defense. However, the Bears have looked really good the past couple weeks, again, facing the Colts, facing the Rams. But defensively, they've been solid there. So it should be an interesting matchup. Looking at some budget plays here to start it off. So not over $3,000 again. We have the Indianapolis defense going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. For $2,600, you can get the Colts right now. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't know what's wrong with them. They did cover last week. They looked a little better on offense. They were able to put some drives together and protect Trevor Lawrence. But whether they give him time or not, Trevor Lawrence isn't really getting the job done. They've got an inconsistent run game right now. So I think this is a great play, Max. Why do you like it?
Yeah, aside from what's going on the field, also kind of a little bit what's going on off the field. I know this isn't necessarily the most narrative-based show, but I think it does matter a little bit when you have your head coach calling out the team saying the coaches can't go out there and execute it for them. I think that kind of thing kind of marinates in the locker room a little bit. And it can go either way. It can really help you elevate your game, and it can also get the guys that aren't bought in. It can really drive them to drive the team apart. So it's one of those things that I think there's a wide range of outcomes with that. But on one of the more likely outcomes of that, this is going to help your play as a DFS player picking the Indianapolis Colts against the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I think you get one extreme or the other. You're not just going to get a down-the-middle performance from Jacksonville, and I think at that price, you go for that low end of performance from the Jaguars, which will give you a good performance from the Colts there. And they've also got some guys that they've invested on that defensive line, a lot of young guys that they've drafted here in the last few years. Kwity Paye, Latu. They've got Ade. I don't know how to say his full last name there on the interior. Some athletic guys that can really make things happen. And Grover Stewart in the middle isn't necessarily the biggest pass rusher, but he's a guy that can really clog things up. So I do think while they're not maybe an elite defensive line, they do have a good young front there.
So the Jaguars do have a solid offensive line in terms of talent. You know, Cam Robinson, a second-round pick. Ezra Cleveland was a second-round pick. Brandon Sheriff, first-round pick. Antoine Harrison, I believe, was a first-round pick as well. There's so much talent on this Jacksonville Jaguars team across the board, but they're not getting it done. And, you know, going back to when you were talking about how the locker room feels right now, I think if anything, it's going to separate this team because good teams find a way to win. Good teams overcome adversity before they start out 0-4. So what was said by Doug Peterson, I think will rip this team apart. Max, you know, in your playing career, were you ever on a team? Like, give me an example of a team that was on that had really good chemistry, and give me an example of a team that had bad chemistry, and then how, you know, was it? How much easier was it to go to work when it was a good chemistry team?
Oh yeah, some of those good chemistry teams. So like one that I always think back to in my professional playing days in BC for the BC Lions there. I think it was either 2017 or 2018. I want to say 2017, but that group of guys I just knew coming into the building. Well, when you're winning, obviously it's going great. Everything's good when you win. But even when we lost, we knew we could bounce back. We had the right group of guys that didn't lose focus on what was at hand, what was at stake, and we really enjoyed playing with each other. Like when you enjoy playing together and like working for that guy next to you, I think that shows on the field and in the outcomes of the games, because when you're just out there playing like a mercenary for yourself, those teams don't win games. And so that's a team that I played on that did really well. And then in college, wins are a little bit hard to come by at times. And so some of the teams that I was on there, it was like we still enjoyed each other. It wasn't necessarily that it was the worst chemistry there. I don't want to say that. Still got a lot of love for guys on that team, but it was just there were times where you go into a game and you can tell not everybody believes that you're going to win. Which if you don't believe it to start, you're not going to do it. And so it's one of those things that everybody has to be bought in, believe in it. And if they don't believe in it, then you do get some of those guys that are trying to maybe stat pad instead of play the team game there. So, it's kind of some of the differences you can have in chemistry there.
And there's a lot more of those teams out there than there are of the teams that are happy and winning football games and everyone's playing for each other. Just because you look at championship teams, those are those teams, and there's not many champions out there. So I think Jacksonville, they're going to be in for a big transformation in the offseason because the talent is there to win football games. They just haven't been able to do it. Another couple teams here that have not been able to win much lately, the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. So Patriots are priced $2,900 against Miami this week. Interesting price here. I would think this would be a little higher. You know, my one reasoning for it being $2,900 would be the fact that, you know, I did not think Mike McDaniel called a good game. I thought they needed to get the ball to Tyreek Hill more in space, and they just didn't seem to do that until later in the contest in the fourth quarter. So early, often, if they can get the ball to Tyreek Hill, this could be a little bit of a risk play. But for $2,900 for a solid Patriots defense, this is a great play here, Max. Take me through this one.
Yeah, like you said, there's always the risk that they can get the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands in space, but they didn't do it last week, and I know what they've got in the quarterback room there. No disrespect to him, but Snoop Huntley just got into town a couple weeks ago. That's always a tough spot to be put into when you've got to learn an entire playbook, not just your position. The quarterback has to know everybody's position. And to learn the entire playbook, obviously they're probably going to pare it down for him a little bit. So you have a limited playbook on top of having a quarterback that isn't your normal starter, wasn't even your normal backup because Skylar Thompson got hurt. It's just a tough spot. I think this Patriots defense is a good defense. They haven't been getting that complementary football piece that we've been talking about as well. The offenses struggle at times and put them in some bad spots, but they do have some good pieces. Keon White's been having a good year so far. Christian Gonzalez looks like one of the better cornerbacks in the league in his I think his second or his third year, and it's a defense that can make things happen. And against a team that's undermanned, I think it's a good opportunity to play them under $3,000 there.
Yeah, and I think going to the complementary football, that's the one hesitation here more than anything else, because the Patriots offense probably isn't going to put their defense in great spots. But you look at what the Tennessee Titans did, and they're by no means a juggernaut on the offensive side of the ball. They were able to run it well. So, look for Ramondre Stevenson to have a bigger day. Look for that offensive line to get a little push, even without David Andrews now, and find a way to hopefully put this defense in good spots for a $2,900 price tag. The Denver defense against the Las Vegas Raiders offense here for 2,900. First off, before we even talk about this play, Max, what were your thoughts on Davante Adams wanting to be traded after last year saying that he would run through a wall for Antonio Pierce?
Yeah, it's really interesting because obviously there's been a little bit of trade rumors surrounding him for a month or two here. But I did pin myself to that quote last year. I was like, well, these are rumors coming out of the media, but he did come out and publicly support Antonio Pierce pretty heavily and probably helped get him the job, to be honest. And so it is kind of weird to see that turnaround happen so quickly. I understand he's a veteran that's got fewer years left in his career than he's played. So he's kind of towards that end of his career, probably not the very end, but he wants to win. I'm guessing, and he just doesn't see it with this team. They didn't go out and get a quarterback this offseason. I know he's trying to hype up Aiden O'Connell. Obviously, Gardner Minshew starting. Just you did see Antonio Pierce's quote come out a couple weeks ago of guys making business decisions, and you kind of wonder, is that directed at him? Because watching the end of that game, he kind of looked like he's going through the motions at times, and it's one of those things that maybe it was a happy marriage last year, but this year it's just kind of falling apart a little bit. The timeline of where the team's at and where Davante Adams is at in his career might not match up a little bit, and maybe greener pastures out there for him.
Yeah, it's common enemies. You had McDaniels as the common enemy last year that they could all rally around and say, well, Antonio Pierce is better, but you can't blame Davante Adams for wanting to win at this point in his career. I mean, and also wanted to move too. I mean, pick up and go somewhere else. Rumors is he wants to go play with Aaron Rodgers, but he's open to other places. No matter what, it's just not a good time for the Las Vegas Raiders offensively right now. So I think that's a really good play, stacking Denver against them for 2,900. Denver looks like a bunch of studs. They've looked fantastic. Able to shut down the New York Jets last weekend. Got some really good guys up front that just play hard and aggressive. So why do you like this one?
They don't really have that defensive superstar on the line there. They do have one in the secondary. Pat Surtain obviously is a guy, but on the defensive front, they don't have that one superstar that you're like, that's the guy. But they have a lot of guys that they can just roll through, and they're going to continue to give you problems. And I think that, like you said, you saw that last week against the Jets. You've really seen it all year, and it's another team that the offense hasn't necessarily been lighting the world on fire. Complimentary football has been hard to come by, but they're still making things happen. And when you see a defense consistently go out there, not get put in the best spots, but continue to make plays and hold teams to field goals when they do get put in bad spots, and to keep them scoreless when they do get them in a good spot. It really makes you feel very confident in that team when they can consistently go out there and do it over and over again, because anybody in this league can make a few stops back to back, but it's those teams that can do it for an entire game. Like those defenses are special, and this is defense that's been doing that so far this year.
Definitely a guy that I really like up front for them. Zach Allen, 285-pound defensive end. He can rush the passer a little bit too, 2 sacks in 4 games, makes his money as a run stopper and can also get after it too as a 3-down guy. So just a group that you said just plays really hard football. And I think right now for the Raiders, the one thing that they can't have is a team that just isn't going to stop across from them, especially with some momentum now after winning some football games. So I expect a big game from Denver here on both sides of the ball. Yeah.
It should be a fun one. Division matchup too. Those can always go either way, because those division matchups, you really get to know each other, and it's fun as a player. It's fun as a fan. You get some wacky things happening sometimes, but I think, this should definitely be a fun one.
Definitely. So, Max, looking at all 3 plays here, you got Indy, New England, and Denver. Which one are you taking and why?
I think I'm going to have to go with New England here against Miami. It just, again, they're running what looks like a very limited playbook. Just doesn't look very inspired. They're not moving the ball very well. And this New England defense, I think, is a very good defense right now. And it's a spot that I think that they can put the team on their back, even if the offense doesn't do anything, and win the game by themselves, similar to what we've seen earlier this year, like something like the Chicago Bears did back in Week 1, where the offense didn't even score, but I think they put up 24 points between defense and special teams. I think this is one of those games that something like that could happen. I like New England this week.
I would agree with you there. I think, Jacksonville could figure it out offensively because the talent's there, first rounders, second rounders up front, good skill players. When you're looking at Denver and Las Vegas, Antonio Pierce was able to rally a football team last year through a really tough time. So you never know what he's going to be able to do now. So that's another scary thing. And then also Denver, they might be super high and come back down to earth this week after 2 straight wins. And then, New England versus Miami, that's the one game where I do trust the Patriots offense to get a little push and play some complimentary football, set the defense up well against Miami. So for $2,900, it definitely one worth playing and, sprinkling throughout all your DFS lineups. So we're on the same page here, man.
Yep. Feels good. Got that nice little wavelength going. So
there we go. So, looking at this week, just one thing that you're really excited about.
That Houston-Buffalo game, it sticks out on the slate there. It's just that should be a really fun one. I got 2 teams that can get it done on both sides of the ball at times, but they're really, they do have the high-powered offenses that put up a lot of points, and we've been seeing that. Obviously, Buffalo is kind of got to get a get-right here. It's not the best get-right spot when you're going against Houston. But I think that they're going to come out focused, and I think it's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be fun. Biggest thing I'm looking forward to is the Buccaneers on Thursday night. Don't know who's going to win this one. I hope the Tampa Bay can get it done with Baker, but we'll see. It's going to be a great week of football. We're at week 5 already. Make sure you guys enjoy it, and don't take these opportunities for granted that we have to bet and play DFS because they're going to be gone before we know it's going to be the dog days of summer again. But anyways, Max, that was In the Trenches for week 5. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Make sure you guys join us, and we will talk to you soon.